GM, good morning, everyone. I am very excited to be here to talk about something quite practical and down to earth, namely how we can make our teams more AI native. I'll share some experiences, how we've done that at Nansen over the last few months, and hopefully it'll be useful for you all. But first, I want to give you a bit of context on who we are at Nansen and a bit about my own AI journey first. So I graduated in 2010 from Edinburgh with a master's in AI. So I like to say that I was in AI before it was cool. Edinburgh was where Jeff Hinton took his PhD, so it's a great academic institution in Europe. I spent about 7-8 years working with data science in consulting as a data scientist myself and also leading a data science team. Then in 2017, I discovered Ethereum, went all in on crypto, and a few years later ended up co-founding our company, Nansen. And what does Nansen do, and who are we? Just to give you a bit of context on the organization, because I'll be talking about how we make the team AI native. We are just over 80 people at Nansen. We are spread across more than 30 different countries, and we are a remote-first company. We have raised $88 million from investors such as A16Z, Accel, GIC, SCB 10X, and great investors. So that gives you an idea of the size and scale that we're at. And what do we believe about the future that makes us go to work every morning with excitement? Firstly, we believe that every asset will be tokenized. Everything that's worth owning, worth registering ownership for, will eventually be on a blockchain. As a result, billions of people will be owners. We believe in a future that's the opposite of what the World Economic Forum tells you, that you will own nothing and you will be happy. We believe you'll own something and you'll be happy. And blockchains are going to be the world's financial fabric. Our mission and our role in this future of finance is to help you surface the signal, and we want to create winners. So we help investors grow their portfolios, and we help chains grow their ecosystems. Now, we are basically betting the whole company on the two most important technological paradigm changes this decade. First one is on-chain. I'm not going to talk too much about that now. You saw a great presentation from Michael about how blockchain and AI can come together. Balaji also talked about that earlier this morning. And I don't think I have to talk too much about why AI is important. I think because you're at this conference, you appreciate that this is a very important, perhaps the most important technological shift that's happening. And so when we think about AI at Nansen, there are basically two components. First one is how do we build a better product leveraging AI? And the second part, which is what I'm going to talk mostly about today, is how can we become more productive as individuals and as an organization. But on the product side, we use AI in three main ways at Nansen. The first one is we use it for personalization. This is kind of the canonical machine learning use case where we can take what we know about you as an investor, for example, your portfolio, which assets and tokens you're interested in, and we can give you personalized signals delivered straight to you. The second part is we build fast and fluid interfaces. And so I have a picture of Harrison Ford from Blade Runner because there's a scene where he literally talks to his screen to manage zooming in and panning and enhancing a photo. And I think that gives a glimpse of what the future might look like when we think about UX and interactions that are powered by AI. Basically, I think for analytics and data, which is what we do, is going to be a combination of voice and visuals. And so over time, we are going to be leveraging AI much more for creating these fast and fluid interfaces. The last part is deepening our data moat. And so we have hundreds of millions of blockchain addresses labeled in Nansen. That means you can know who are the entities behind different addresses, and that helps investors figure out what is actually happening on chain. There are many other things we have to solve on the data mode side of things. We have to integrate chains very fast. We have to curate data sets on DEXs and all sorts of things, and we make use of AI to speed up that work. But organizational productivity, I think this is something that probably you can all relate to. And what we said at the beginning when we created our AI strategy was that our aspiration is to make Nansen an AI trailblazer, both for product innovation and for organizational productivity. And so why do we want to do this? Firstly, because as a company, it'll be harder for other companies to keep up with us if we embrace AI very fast. But also, I think as individuals and the team members, when you think about your own career, and this I think is valid for everyone in this room, when you think about your own career, if you don't embrace AI, I think you're going to fall behind. And there's going to be a gap between people who are really AI native and those who aren't. And so you'll be better equipped to thrive in the future if you embrace AI in your work. So in Q1, we set a very simple goal, which was to spend 5,000 hours working with AI. I got a lot of pushback on this, both internally and also when I posted it on LinkedIn. People commented on the LinkedIn post, you should never post things on LinkedIn. You should only post things on Twitter. That's my lesson. But effectively, people said, why would you want to measure the hours spent? That's stupid. What if people are just going to waste their time? But the bet here is that this, like learning about AI and becoming AI native, is a little bit like going to the gym or learning a language. Half the job is actually showing up. You have to do the work. You have to lift the weights. You have to speak the words, and so on and so forth. And if you can just measure that in a very simple way, the assumption is that this is going to help us all just figure out the ways that AI can be useful for us in our work. And so now we track how many hours people spend on a weekly basis in the team working with AI. And so you can see it's mostly been trending up. We spend, so the 5,000 hours, by the way, translates to about 4 hours per week. That's the target, so we're actually over-delivering a little bit, and we've raised our ambitions for Q2. But you can see that we're spending 4 and getting up to 10 hours per week on average per team member working with AI. By the way, the keyword here is with, right? I'm not expecting everyone in the company to train their own models and so on. The point is that you're bringing some AI product that helps you do your work in a faster manner with higher quality. That's the idea. And we actually track this per department too. And so we can intervene where we don't see enough AI nativeness or AI usage. And so I've broken this down into 4 different overall large departments. The organizational teams, think of finance, legal, ops, and so on. Engineering, product, and go-to-market, which would be sales and marketing, RevOps, etc. And so you can see from the blue line, the go-to-market team were a little bit slow in the beginning, and then we intervened with some workshops to actually help them figure out how can you make use of AI tools for your work, and as a result, it's now trended up quite a lot in the last few weeks. So we set a Q2 goal, which is the quarter we're in right now, which is to spend 6,000 hours working with AI. We hit the 5,000 hours goal. Now we're doing 6,000 hours. And basically, the way we track this, because I'm sure many people are wondering, have we installed some kind of thing to track how many hours people are spending on software on their laptops? But it's actually a very simple Slack form where we ask people to take 1 minute at the end of the week. It's a scheduled post that goes out, asks you to fill out the survey. You answer a couple of questions. So this is entirely self-reported, and we rely on trust for this, of course. But I think we'd figure out if people were systematically lying about their AI usage. And then we learn things like which tools people are using the most, right? So this creates kind of an interesting feedback loop. And we have a dashboard now that tracks all of our AI usage. And so that means we can see, firstly, are we pacing, right? Are we on track to hit our goal? But also, which products are people actually using? And I would say there are 3 products that stand out in terms of usage in our company. The first one is ChatGPT. It requires no introduction. We had a slight detour with Claude for a while because it was faster, a little bit less woke, if I can say that, a little bit less verbose. I think with GPT 4.0, now ChatGPT is back in the driver's seat, at least at Nansen in terms of usage. We use Fireflies for summarizing our meeting notes. It's actually very useful, saves us a lot of time, and it gives you a way to index what's actually being said in meetings, getting action points and things like that. And then our engineers use GitHub Copilot. And on the Copilot note, we track this too. This is actually not self-reported. This is behavioral. So you can see how many of our engineers are using Copilot on a daily basis. We can see what's the acceptance rate of the recommendations made by GitHub Copilot. And I would say about 50 to 60% of our engineers use GitHub Copilot. And most of the other ones are using other AI tools for their coding. And so on that note, I'm not going to read up all of these tools, but these are some of the tools that we've discovered through our tracking and our surveys that people find useful. Maybe I'll call out Cursor on number 4 here, which is getting quite popular with our engineers. It's a fork of VS Code, and it allows you to bring in your own LLMs or your own API keys from Anthropic or OpenAI. And then you can get a bit more control of how good the LLM is to help you with coding. OK, so if we take a step back, what are some of the principles that we have landed on in terms of driving organizational productivity with AI? The first one is simply try AI first. If you have a difficult problem, maybe something that's been nagging you for a while, you should just try spending 15, 20 minutes with AI on the problem and see how far you get. This should be your gut reflex. Surprisingly, many people don't do this. But trying AI first should always be the approach. Secondly, you need to make AI a team member. You need to, and this relates to the third point, which is to make sure that the AI is present in all of your work arenas, so where the work is happening. So you want to make sure that the AI has context, and you can loop it in very easily. Right? It's a bit like, did you invite John to this meeting? Right? You should almost ask that question about the AI. Have we added an AI into this process so they can be helpful and they have the context? And then finally, we believe in AI upskilling in a proactive manner. I'm not a big fan of the word training because it feels kind of passive and top-down. With AI, it's moving so fast that the best way to learn, in my experience, is to take matters into your own hands and create a culture where people are actually leaning into these tools and they're enthusiastic about it. And so one thing I would call out as well that I've observed, which is interesting, is that people have these AI blind spots. And this is a phenomenon where, especially on tasks related to your own job, and I think this might come from a fear of the AI is going to replace me, or the AI is going to take my job. But tasks that are core to your job, if you're a product manager, you're running a PRD, if you're an engineer, you're doing refactoring, very often you don't realize that, hey, actually, I should probably be using AI for this task. And so it's the same with me, by the way, right? When I write my CEO updates weekly to my team, now I go on a walk, I put my AirPods on, and I talk to ChatGPT to help me write the CEO update. But before, I would write this thing manually, completely, which most people, I think, do still. And so you should acknowledge that everyone has blind spots, all of you here, myself included. And this is something that you have to realize and work on proactively. Finally, like I said, you need to build an AI culture if you want to get an AI native team. Culture eats strategy for breakfast. Culture is basically what the team does when the CEO is not there. Right? And you want to make sure that people are enthusiastic about AI. You need to make sure that there are spaces for people to upskill and lean into AI. You need to make sure there's budget, there's time, and so on and so forth. So, to sum up the takeaways here, if you want your team to be AI native, number 1, create a strategy for AI. Number 2, set some clear goals. Number 3, build out an AI inventory of tools. Number 4, measure, learn, and intervene as needed. And number 5, make sure you are creating an AI culture. With that, I'll say thank you for coming to this presentation and enjoy the conference.